Chapter 5. Makoto. Her head bobs dangerously close to the sharp needle slipping from between her fingers. She startles, swallowing her gasp as she blinks awake. Tired eyes meet mine from where I'm leaning over my work table, sketching a new knife design. I turn back to my work, unsurprised by anything she does at this point. "You're going to stab yourself again." "I've worked through the night before," she says defensively, though actively fighting a yawn. "I'll be fine." "This time it'll be your eye," I sigh. "Maybe your throat. Definitely a couple fingers." "I'm not gonna stab anything, Mac." She breathes my name, and I'm surprised by the effect it has on me from a person so pretty. I straighten, striding towards her. "No, you will not." She sputters when I pluck the needle from her fingers. "Because I am taking this for the night." "No, there's so much left to do," she argues, gesturing to the assortment of pinned fabric. "I've barely begun the stitching, and don't even get me started on how long the paneling will take on the—" "You've been working for 2 full days now." I cross my arms over my chest. "And I've heard enough words for today. I can't imagine how exhausted you must be after speaking them all." Her dull look could rival one of the many in my arsenal. "Is this you kicking me out for the night?" I flash her a mocking smile. "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." "Fine." She stands, staring up at me sternly. It's comically endearing. "Hopefully some sleep will make you less grumpy for me tomorrow." "Did that work for me last night?" "Clearly not, but I won't lose hope. Yet." "Whatever helps you sleep better tonight," I say pleasantly. She brushes past me, walking swiftly towards the door. Then, without warning, she spins on her heel. "I'll be here bright and early." "Oh, you certainly were this morning," I mutter. She turns back to the door. I sigh when her head whips back around. "And I expect to be greeted with a smile and a sticky bun." She nods curtly, as though finalizing this demand. I cross my arms. "I thought we were done with the demands, hun." "Get me my sticky bun and we will be." With that, she's sealed from view when the wooden door swings shut behind her with a squeal. It's only then that I take my first deep breath since meeting her. She is an intoxicating sort of exhausting, like running until you've lost your breath, but enjoying the feeling all the while. And I feel as though I've been sprinting for days. Even worse, I fear that I am, in fact, beginning to enjoy her. What a terrifying realization, to admit one's admiration for another. I run my hands through the strands of hair falling around my face, sighing as I make my way over to the disheveled bed I so desperately want to fall face first into. Instead, I sit on the edge of it, lost in thoughts I'd rather not entertain. Thoughts of a girl I've only just met, of all things. How very pathetically poetic. Shaking myself from a stupor of inevitable self-destruction, I stand to begin my nightly routine. This consists of first peeling the coal-stained clothes from my body. Once that task is complete, I slip off the partially leathered pants still hugging my legs, and after rummaging through one of the many crooked cabinets in my boxers alone, I manage to find a thin pair of pants to pull on. This all happens in a timely manner, as routines typically do, because next, I'm wetting a cloth to wipe the soot from my skin. In all honesty, a relatively foreign concept, I tend to keel over on my work table at this hour, dead asleep. But tonight, the interruption in my routine has ensured that my mind is plenty awake to actually finish it for once. Soot clings to the damp cloth I drag across my skin, each swipe revealing the scars beneath. That is when the pounding at my door begins. And, plagues, it doesn't stop until I swing it open. It's her I see standing before me, though Perhaps a version I never thought I'd witness. Her face is splotchy, striped with tears that leak from the hazel eyes above. Every inch of her is shaking, quaking beneath the fear smothering her frail form. Panic clogs her throat, leaving only actions to speak on her behalf. She falls into me, wrapping thin arms round my bare waist before pressing a tear-stained face into my skin. I hesitate, feeling unsurety stiffen my body. It seems to pass at the acknowledgement of it, as though only remaining long enough for me to recognize these newfound emotions she's instilled in me. Because uncertainty implies that I care enough to question how I should act. With that horrifying realization, my arms fold round her, pulling her tightly against my chest. She sniffles against me, splattering my skin with an assortment of liquids I'd rather not consider at the moment. I'm sorry, she whispers, choking on the words. I had nowhere else to go. My hand tilts her face up towards mine, allowing me full view of her distraught complexion. What happened? What's going on? Another sniff. I was on my way to the fort, and there was this group of men in the alley. My blood begins to boil before she's even finished her sentence. They started saying things, and then they were following me, and her eyes well with angry tears. I started running. I didn't know what to do. Shh. I run a hand down the length of her curls, feeling a hiccup jostle her body. You did the right thing. Run to me. Always run to me. Except that I won't be here much longer, if everything goes according to plan. I say none of that, of course, in an effort to conceal my cowardliness. She blinks up at me, tears clinging to her thick lashes. Did I wake you? I'm sorry, I should have... Kicked their asses? I finish with a sigh. Yes, but you don't know how to do that, do you? She shakes her head, sniffling with the movement. Pei was always there to kick asses for me. She hesitates at the profanity, as though considering if this situation warrants it. Her internal dilemma almost makes me smile. Yes, well, she's not here anymore, I say slowly. So maybe it's time for you to learn for yourself. She steps out of my hold, a look of uncertainty on her face. You see, I'm really more of a lover than a fighter. Yes, I've gathered that. My words are much softer than anticipated, as though she somehow coaxed the compassion out of me. She turns away, hiding her face in the shadow I'm casting over her. Look at me. Again, each word is soft enough to comfort, but stern enough to steal her attention. Her head tilts back towards me. Are you all right? She nods vigorously. I am now. Good. I step aside, offering the room to her. Because it looks like you'll be sleeping here until further notice. Oh, no, I couldn't. You can, and you will. No, really, it's extremely generous, I'm aware. I finish for her. Wiping a stray tear from her cheek, she straightens with determination. Fine. Only if you promise to spend a night in the fort. I nod curtly. Sure. Shake on it, she insists, shoving her uninjured hand at me. You really think that is what will make me keep my promise? She wiggles her fingers despite my words, and I shake her soft hand, if only so we can move on from this conversation. Okay, it's settled then. She sniffs again before thoroughly clearing her face of any fallen tears. Then her gaze lands expectantly on me. Right, I say, less than enthusiastically. Take the bed. She looks bashfully at the crumpled sheets. Oh, I'm used to sleeping on the ground anyway, so I'll just... Accept my continued generosity? She opens her mouth, but it's my voice that fills the room. Great. Take the bed. Her hands are suddenly planted firmly on her hips. Could I get a please with that demand? Ah, look who's finally standing up for themselves. I tap my finger against her nose. But no. Huffing bangs out of her eyes, she walks hesitantly towards the bed. After a long moment of contemplation, she sits stiffly on the edge of it. Standing over her, I begin pulling at one of the wrinkled blankets she's currently sitting on. She all but tips over, sputtering. In response to her objection, I spread the soft fabric on the floor beside the bed. Surely you can sacrifice a single blanket for me? Surely you could have asked me to stand up, she mumbles with a forced smile. Surely you know there is no fun in that. Her gaze prickles my skin as I crumple clothing into a makeshift pillow. I struggle to ignore the feel of it, the look on her face. Even in the midst of crying, she managed to glow, as though each tear was a drop of sunlight. You missed a spot? My head lifts at the sound of her voice. I raise my eyebrows in question. The coal dust, she clarifies. There's still some on your elbow. Do stay away then, I frown. I'd rather not be sneezed on again. She smiles, snatching the damp cloth from the counter sitting opposite the bed. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Grabbing my arm, she attempts to tug me towards her. And, begrudgingly, I allow it. She hesitates slightly before swiping the cloth across my arm. The fabric is rough against my skin, though her touch is unsurprisingly gentle. I'm far from fragile. I say this in response to each of her tender touches. I know, she says softly. There is quite the difference between fragility and delicacy. These words are nothing like the hundreds of bubbly ones prior. These words are deliberate, insightful in a way that only she is. So, you think I'm delicate? She tilts her head in question. Don't you want to be handled with care? This leaves me speechless. It's only when she sets the stained cloth down that I clear my throat, making my first sound in a multitude of moments. I watch her sink back onto the mattress, burrowing into the blankets beneath her. That is when I begin striding towards the door, shoving daggers into the band of my pants. I can hear the concern in her voice. Where are you going? The door swings open. To find them.
Chapter 6. Adina. I wake to the smell of sticky buns. Just as I have every morning after Mac went to find the men who chased me into his arms. Though I'm not entirely sure what came of his hunt, and I'm beginning to fear I may not want to know. The night still haunts me, as does the look on Mac's face when he went to look for the vile group. The things they were saying, the sound of their footsteps pounding behind me. I hope to never be so frightened again. My eyes flutter open in time to watch him plop a plate onto my stomach, occupied by honey-drenched dough that glistens in the dull light. I sit up, stretching with my usual smiling yawn. Day 3 of breakfast in bed? I'm so spoiled. Yes, very. He says this dryly, as he does most things. Another day, another demand. I nod towards the sticky bun awaiting him on the work table. At least this demand benefits the both of us. Well, it sure as hell doesn't benefit me financially, he grumbles. You're getting to be expensive. Unfolding myself from the cocoon of blankets, I get to my feet with a groan. The blue sweater hanging from my shoulder swaddles me in warmth and, more distractingly, his scent. He smells of something akin to fire. Not smoky, per se, but similarly bold and lingering. Like a weapon incarnate, leathery and lethal. He'd thrown the sweater at my head 2 nights ago after likening my chattering teeth to the incessant hammering of steel, or something equally as dramatic. Nevertheless, I burrow my chin into the worn threads, finding comfort in the fraying collar. Or perhaps it's something far more symbolic that soothes me. Perhaps it's him. How odd, considering that he may be the least soothing person I've ever encountered. But these past few days have felt particularly peaceful with him by my side. I talk. He listens. He has somehow managed to keep my worries about pay at bay. Well, I can never be entirely sure if he's listening or not. A common misconception about me is that it's always easy to talk. But, truly, it depends on who is listening. And though I can never be sure that he's doing just that, I still find it incredibly easy to spew my thoughts to him. What are you working on? I peek over his shoulder, peering down at the scraps of metal littering the table. He throws me one of those glances, the type that encompasses every dry emotion in his being. Nothing that concerns what you are supposed to be working on. Oh, come on. I take another bite of sticky bun before circling him. Your uniform is coming along just fine. He opens his mouth, stretching the scar gracing his lips. I hurry to add, and it will be done in time for us to pay our visit to the castle. He pushes a hand through his hair, revealing that streak of silver and reminding me once again of Pei's absence. So, it will be done in 3 days then. Yes, I assure enthusiastically. You have such little faith in me, Mac. Rightfully so, he counters. Need I remind you of the tears that were shed over a button last night? Buttons are the bane of my existence, I say simply. That was the only appropriate response. Naturally. His sarcasm hardly phases me as I nod towards his work in question. With a sigh, he reluctantly says, I'm testing some knife designs. This one, he lifts a thin blade from the table, flips open into 2 knives. He demonstrates, fitting his finger into the metal loop at the top before spinning it into his palm. Sure enough, there's a soft click before another blade appears on the opposite end. And this one? I ask, pointing at one of the several knives lying harmlessly on the wood. He pushes my hand away, giving me a look. Your limbs are no longer allowed anywhere near my weapons. I attempt to hide my smile and nod at the knife instead, urging him to continue. These 4 actually combine into 1. With that, he begins assembling the blades, hooking their handles together to create a deadly star of sorts. My heart stops when he throws the contraption at the far wall, forcing a gasp from my lips. The steel manages to slip between the crumbling bricks, sinking deep into the wall. I blink in awe as my heart pounds back to life. That was magnificent. He allows himself a dry chuckle. I didn't think you'd enjoy these sorts of things. I cross my arms. Just because I'm a lover doesn't mean I can't admire the fighters. He strides over to the wall, pulling the knife out with a grunt. That's right. I have yet to make a fighter out of you. I snort. Trust me, Pei has tried. She used to beg me to carry a knife, but I trail off at the sudden lack of space between us. His long strides have led him straight to me, his body so close that I can smell the leather clinging to his clothing. I open my mouth to spew something that will ease my nerves, as I typically do, but it's his voice I hear. Now, he says slowly, his tone low. What would you do if I held this blade to your stomach? I laugh lightly. Well, you would never do that, so I haven't exactly thought of. He grazes the blade against my ribs. He leans in, whispering in a way that has my face heating. You think too highly of me, hun. I swallow. This is absurd. I will never find myself in this situation. As long as you live in the slums, he pauses, his gaze flicking slowly over me. You will most definitely find yourself in this situation. Now, tell me what you would do. I tap a finger against my lips. Well, I would first try to reason with him, politely, of course. Plagues. Pinching the bridge of his nose between calloused fingers, he shakes his head. You may actually be hopeless. He drops the knife, allowing me to finally take a full breath. When he raises his palms in front of me, I raise my eyebrows in question. Come on, show me a punch. You want me to punch your hands? That seems a little painful. You'll be fine, he sighs. I meant for you. That almost earns me a smile. I think I can handle it. I straighten, balling my hands into tight fists. My knuckles meet his palm, and I beam up at him. There, how was that? As terrible as predicted, he says simply. When his hands find my hips, I startle at the firm feel of them. This, he twists my hips with little effort, is how it should feel when you throw a punch. I almost laugh. At this moment, all I feel is the grip of his hands on my hips. I seem to be numb to everything but the feel of him. I hadn't realized he was speaking until one of his palms slips into the small of my back. Twist with your arm to throw all your weight behind it. Straighten your back and engage your core. Your whole body throws the punch, not just your arm. He steps behind me then, trailing his fingers around my waist as he does so. I can hardly suppress my shiver at this foreign feeling. Tucking his head close to mine, he breathes. Try again. I'll guide you. I swallow. Mostly my pride, but also my sudden wave of nerves. When my arm thrusts forward, he pivots my hips, moving in time with the swing. The heat of his body presses against my back, and I'm suddenly breathing far too hard for a single punch. How'd that feel? He murmurs. I vaguely wonder if he can detect my heart pounding through the back he's pressed against. I'm not used to being touched. Not like this, at least. This feels like the type of intimacy I've only ever dreamed of. The type you fall asleep fantasizing about. But here he is, breath on my neck and calloused hands cupping my hips. I can't help but memorize the moment, study the feelings he stirs inside of me. Feelings for someone so annoyingly aggravating, someone so opposite my very being. I clear my throat. It's completely ridiculous, really. I've only known this man a handful of days and am already absurdly affected by his every move. It truly is a curse to feel so deeply, to so daringly deem someone worthy of my affection. Mama always did say I was much too eager for my own good. My impatience ensures that I won't gradually fall for someone. Instead, I lose my balance, tripping until I faceplant into an inevitable failure. Again, Dina. I think I've forgotten how to breathe. Dina? The usual indifference he wears falters when I whip my head round to face him. I can see the realization in the way his brown eyes widen in time with my own, and the feel of his body tensing against mine. No one but Pei has ever cared enough to call me by anything but my given name. Until now, that is. The name itself feels like a caress, stilling my pounding heart as though he's run figurative fingers down it. Warmth floods my body at the sound, at the sheer implication of the word. Because it was formed by familiarity. Nicknames blossom between acquaintance and something more. Though, I'm not sure where we stand on that spectrum. Or perhaps I'm being completely absurd and am completely overthinking everything. I'm suddenly being spun around with firm hands that have found their way to my waist. My lower back bumps into the wooden table, trapping me against the distracting density of him. He gives me that look, the one where he tilts his head down with a dull twist of his lips. I hope it was your fighting technique you were daydreaming about. I tilt my head up, apparently unable to keep my eyes from tracing the scar cutting his lips. What else would possibly be on my mind? I smile, each word breathy. You tell me. He leans in, bracing his hands on the table either side of me. I feel his arms brushing my sides and curse myself for the lack of self-restraint I possess. You're looking far more fidgety than normal. I can't say I enjoy it. I clear my throat before pasting a smile onto my face, pretending as though I'm not suddenly thinking of him as something more than a begrudging partner. Guess I just can't contain my excitement for this very enjoyable training you're forcing me to do. He blinks, shaking his head in disbelief. All right, remind me to teach you how to lie next. I nod before his hands find my hips once again, sending a shock all the way down to my toes. Now, keep swinging until I'm satisfied you could hit me. I punch. His fingers grip my hips. I punch. His hand flattens against my back. I punch. His lips almost form a smile. And so begins my doomed trip into Mac.
Chapter 7. Makoto. Stop laughing. This isn't funny. She giggles again in a way that makes it hard to stay angry, even for me. But when the needle's point finds the tip of my finger once again, I toss the fabric aside with a huff. Oh, please, don't give up. The look of disappointment on her face almost makes me reconsider. Look at how far you've come. What? You mean the 12 crooked stitches? I lift the scrap of fabric for proof. Yeah, I'm clearly a prodigy. She presses her lips together, fighting an aggravating smile. It's become increasingly less so over the past couple of days, but I'd rather not think on that at the moment. Look, it's only fair that you try my thing after putting me through yours yesterday, she states, while stitching a pant seam with ease. For hours. Don't be dramatic, I sigh. Besides, at least my thing will help you defend yourself. Adina points her needle at me. You haven't seen me wield this thing yet. My eyes skim over the scraps of loose fabric beside the uniform she's still assembling. Is that not what you're doing now? She ponders this for a moment. I suppose it is. I'll be truly impressed when you have me looking like an Imperial in 2 days. I know, she huffs. Only 2 more days until our fun little mission to the castle. I shake my head. Don't call it that. I am so excited to see Pei, she practically squeals, content to ignore me. All that's left to do is line the suit to mimic the padding that the Imperials have. Oh, and cut the leather for your mask. Great. I take a deep breath, relieved. And you remember the plan, correct? Despite her incessant nodding, I figure it's best to remind her. We'll leave early in the evening, giving us over an hour to make it to the arena. There, we will sneak up the path to the east wing of the castle before phasing through the walls and past the guards. She smiles smugly. See, I told you I remembered. Incredibly impressive, I counter dryly. Now, we will stick together and phase into rooms when necessary. Wait, what am I wearing on our little mission? I pinch the bridge of my nose, feeling a headache beginning to pound. Please, don't call it a... I could dress up like a maid! She taps a finger against her lips in thought. Though I'm not entirely sure what it is they wear. Just tie an apron round your waist, I say dismissively. It will be dark anyway. It's unlikely anyone will see you. Perfect. Then she nods to the pathetic piece of shit she's forced me to work on. Now, go on. You've got more stitches to do. You can't be serious. She laughs lightly. You should have seen my stitches when Mama first tried to teach me. It was a disaster. Her voice softens before trailing off at the mention of a life I know nothing about. You don't talk about her, I say quietly. In fact, you don't talk about anyone who isn't Pei. She shrugs as though the past that brought her to this present is of little importance. There's not much to say. Besides, she glances up at me with those wide hazel eyes. You never talk about Hera. There's not much to say, I counter. That's odd. Her voice is nonchalant, but her piercing gaze is anything but. I figured she was pretty important for you to go through all this trouble to see her one last time. Right. I'm supposed to be seeing her one last time, not attempting anything treasonous. I let out an exasperated sound. Your curiosity is exhausting, honey. Speaking of, she says enthusiastically while wearing a frown, I'm afraid I don't know much about you. Apart from your measurements, which I now have memorized, by the way. I hope you know that I find that slightly unnerving. Well, if you won't tell me about Hera, she cuts in, looking slightly ruffled by my withholding of information. Tell me something else. I just did. A pause. Your curiosity exhausts me. Rolling those hazel eyes, she pushes on valiantly. What about your family? I almost muster a laugh. Oh, just the friendliest bunch. You would love them. Apparently, she doesn't sense the added sarcasm I've slipped into the syllables of each word. Oh, how wonderful! I would love to meet them one day. Her face flushes suddenly before she's adding, I mean, if we still see each other after all of this. And there it is, that pang of guilt. Guilt at the thought of leaving her, of giving her hope of something that will inevitably fail. But I feel it nonetheless, the denial of my slow demise into Adina. Because caring for Hera was the only weakness I allowed, and this girl is dangerously even more so. Tragedy follows me everywhere I go, and I'm not worthy of becoming her demise. Adina deserves a fairy tale fate, a life worthy of her light. And that means I should stay as far away from it as possible. I should. I don't think we should see each other after all this. Her eyes fly up from the path of stitches she's laying along the pant leg. Why? I shrug with a nonchalance I'm pretending to portray. Because my unpleasantness may rub off on you. She lifts her chin, wearing that bright smile of hers. I think you're just worried that I'll make you nicer. I frown. That would be unfortunate. I have a reputation to uphold. Her eyes are back on the uniform draped in her lap. How did you learn to fight? My throat tightens, forcing me to swallow before saying, self-taught? Persistence has her pressing for elaboration. Why? Because you wanted to learn how to use the weapons you were making? Because I was afraid. My father was a blacksmith. My voice is dull. I learned everything I know from watching him, most of the fighting, too. Before she can interrogate me further, I order, All right, show me that you remember all of my hard work yesterday. Your hard work? She stands with a groan. I'm the one who punched the air a couple dozen times. Yes, and it caused me a great amount of pain to watch. I place a hand on her back, feeling the sway of her hips with each step. Attempting to ignore that distraction, I guide her towards a padded wall, once concealed by a cluttered shelf of weapons. I gestured towards the dusty mat I rigged up years ago. No more punching air. Oh, perfect, she says less than enthusiastically. Now I get to punch something that will actually hurt. I've punched this many a time, hun. It won't hit back, I assure you. I take my usual position behind her, and she swings at the pad far softer than I've taught her. Come on, Dina. You won't hurt it. And there I go again, claiming her. The name slips past my lips for the second time, and, once again, I'm regretting it. Regretting the familiarity forming between us. After clearing her throat, she attempts another jab. I twist her hip in time with the movement, feeling my palm fit around her frame. Curly hair continually whips me in the face, smelling of its usual honey. But I don't dare complain at her closeness, for fear of her shying away. I wonder what Pei will be wearing to the ball, Adina sighs, slowing her punches. They better put her in something that won't wash her out with that silver hair of hers, and she absolutely refuses to wear anything frilly or— Focus, Adina. It was an effort to ensure it wasn't my nickname for her that escaped my lips. I mean, it's hard enough to get her into anything that isn't that vest I made her, she continues, as though I hadn't even opened my mouth. I sigh, desperate for a change of subject. Is Pei your only family or simply your only topic of conversation? She throws a look over her shoulder, subtle annoyance sketched into her features. It was just my mama and me before she died. My hand tightens slightly on her hip before she takes another swing, this one much stronger than before. Sentiments have never come easy to me. I'm sorry. I didn't know. She shrugs, and my hand glides towards the movement. The sound of her sucking in a breath threatens to make me smile, but I hold my composure as I run a palm over the length of her stiff shoulder. I can feel the shudder of her body beneath my skin. It's okay, she breathes, her voice shaky. She was sick. There was nothing the healer could do. And you've been living on the streets ever since? I ask quietly. 5 years now. She nods in that reminiscent way. 5 years in the fort with Pei. That's when she whips around, slapping curls across my face. Oh, I still have to show you the fort. You promised you'd spend the night there. I push her jabbing finger out of my face. Did I? I don't recall. Now she's crossed thin arms over her chest. Don't you lie to me, Mac. She stumbles over her scrutiny before fixing me with a defiant look. How am I supposed to properly scold you if I don't know your full name? Good. I brush a curl from her eyes so she can see me clearly as I say, let's keep it that way. The sound that comes from her throat is comparable to a frustrated groan. Am I allowed to know anything about you? Of course. I nod towards the uniform stretched out on the floor. My measurements. Her eyes shut slowly, fluttering dark lashes against soft cheeks. It's comical, watching the frustration flash across her features. But she smothers it quickly with a smile in that typical Adina way. Fine. This smile has a sort of bite to it. Then you don't get to know anything about me either. I nod slowly, if only so I can conceal my slight smile with the strands of hair falling around my face. Oh, I already know far too much.
Chapter 8. Adina. Can I open my eyes now? Are you decent? There's a rustle of fabric followed by a dry answer. I'm clothed, if that's what you're asking. I peek open an eye that lands on the crisp white pants hanging from his hips. My lips press together. His hips are still bare. He's standing there with only half a uniform on, leaving his chest exposed and my eyes wide. My gaze skims over the scattered scars marring his skin before I finally muster the strength to look away. A handful of days ago, his bare chest would be less of an intriguing sight. But now, I'm horribly enthralled by all of him. What? He asks with a scrutinizing stare. Don't act like I'm the only man you've seen without a shirt on. My cheeks burn. Right. He stills, eyes narrowing. You haven't, have you? No, I blurt defensively. There are plenty of men who walk around loot without a shirt on. Right, he nods slowly. And do you always stare at them this intensely? I didn't think my face could get any hotter. Whatever. Hurry up, I have places to be. I stumble through my words before turning round to curse myself away from his prying eyes. Is that so? His tone is mocking. And where are you off to besides the palace tonight? In case you've forgotten, I state with satisfaction, I have a business to run. Ah, yes. I glance back in time to catch him tugging the top half of his uniform over the messy waves falling around his face. You have clothes to sell. Now even those living in the slums can starve in style. I give him the new look I've developed, a cross between unimpressed and slightly amused. Well, when you put it like that. He scoffs before raising his arms, surveying the length of my handiwork. Do I look the part? In the dark, at the very least. I take a few slow steps toward his white-clad figure, eyeing every seam and panel along the fabric. Then I'm clapping my hands together, squealing slightly. It's perfect! You look more menacing than usual. His lips twitch. It's about time you gave me a compliment. Oh, wait, one more thing. I snatched the leather mask from the dusty work table. Stepping close enough to smell the starch I've doused his uniform in, for authenticity, of course, I look up into dark eyes already pinned on me. I'm acutely aware that we are sharing the same air as I reach up to fasten the mask over his eyes and nose. The feel of his gaze roaming over my face has my palms growing sweaty. But I continue my admiration of his own features, following the curve of his cheekbones beneath the mask, the straight bridge of his nose in the center. When my gaze glides over the scar decorating his lips, I'm forced to fight the urge to run my finger over it. Still menacing, he murmurs, his face hovering over mine. More than ever, I assure breathlessly. We watch each other for several shaky breaths before he clears his throat. Don't you have places to be? A particular blue shirt to sell? At the mention of my creation he so ruthlessly criticized, I gained the strength to take a step away from him. Why, yes, I do. And if it doesn't sell, I know exactly what I'll be wearing on our little mission. He shakes his head in disbelief, crossing large arms over his chest. You know, you are far more conniving than you look. I tip my chin up. And how exactly do I look? Sweet, unassuming, pretty enough to get away with wearing that horribly blue shirt. My throat is dry, but I attempt a swallow anyway. He's looking down at me in the same way I do my stitching. Admiration lights his eyes even while he searches for any sort of fault to focus on, as though he aches for a reason to rip at the seams of what it is that has slowly tethered us together. Then wear it I shall, I reassure him. After fumbling for the door, an action typically associated with when his eyes linger over me, I hurry out onto the alleyway. Sun dapples my face, freckling my nose with warmth as I hurry down Loot. I find the fort thankfully untouched, seeing that to the untrained eye it is, in fact, a pile of garbage. I'm reminded of my decision to redecorate for Pei when she returns and add the task to my mental list of chores. Lifting one of the many rugs, I find clothing buried beneath, belonging to the bundle I'd thrown into the alley during my attempted robbery. After meeting Mac, I came back to properly collect and dust off my work before ensuring every scrap of fabric was hidden beneath the many layers of the fort. Once I've gathered the bundle of clothing in my arms, I set off towards the corner I've neglected for nearly 2 weeks now. But after tonight, I will no longer be fed for free or cozied up beneath the cover of his sheets. Not that I wouldn't want that to continue, but Mac has made it very clear that I shouldn't be seeing him after our mission. Though, I have yet to find a good reason as to why. He makes me happy, for whatever absurdly odd reason. He's not exactly a ray of sunshine, but perhaps something equivalent to moonlight. Mysterious and unnerving, equally as beautiful, yet soft enough to stare at. With thoughts of Mac consuming whatever rationality I had left, I hurry down the bustling street. I'm nearly at my corner now and have yet to drop a single item of clothing. This is something I hope will become a regular occurrence. With that goal in mind, I hug the mass of fabric tighter as I hurry towards the mouth of my usual alley. Most merchants have carts to sell from. I have other methods. Years ago, Pay and I fastened a long wire across the opening of this alley, and I am shocked to find the rusty nail still holding. While balancing the bundle of clothing in my arms, I begin draping them across the line to display my handiwork. It makes for a makeshift sort of banner, colorful enough to draw attention. Once each piece is arranged to my liking, I plop down beneath the display and fight the urge to pick at my nails in boredom. Deciding to spend my time wisely, I begin fiddling with the bits of leftover leather from Mac's uniform. The display of his knife collection comes to mind as I run my thumb over the smooth material. He has no way to carry them on him without fear of being stabbed by protruding blades. That's when an idea begins to form. Patterns and measurements are suddenly swirling behind my closed eyelids, aligning into a tangible design. I begin tearing fabric and pinning corners, watching my idea come to life. That's when my stomach grumbles at me, the sound a reminder of the little money I have. And with that in mind, I smile brightly at each person who passes, as if that is enough to persuade them to buy something. And just when I'm starting to think my attempts are scaring customers away, a man strolls towards me. I stand, drape my project over the wire, and greet him with what I hope is a slightly less desperate smile. I watch him grow closer, watch fuzzy features familiarize with every step. I know this man. His is one of the faces I see when shutting my eyes before bed. This is one of the men that followed me. "Hello, pretty," he croons, closing the distance between us. "You're even nicer to look at in the daytime." My eyes shift nervously, glancing at the passing people. With what may be a false sense of security, I attempt to keep things civil, professional despite my discomfort. "Good morning, sir." His responding smirk is unsettling. "Is there anything in particular you're looking for? Perhaps there is a missus you are shopping for? Because I have this beautiful blue top that—" "I'd like to see it on you," he cuts in, voice raspy and blue eyes burning. "Well, off of you, actually." I take a step back, feeling the grimy wall suddenly against my shoulders. My voice quivers, but I force the words out. "I think you should leave now." My eyes linger on his blossoming black eye as he runs a hand through oily brown hair. His smile only grows more crazed. "Oh no, I'm not letting you out of my sight again, pretty." My lips part, allowing words to stumble out. "Please, did I not take care of you properly the first time?" That dry voice cuts through my own, full of challenge. My eyes lift to the looming figure now suddenly behind the man closing in on me. Mac looks relaxed, bored even, as he waits expectantly with arms crossed over a broad chest. Most of his ebony hair is tied back with a strap, though several pieces fall around his face, blowing in the soft breeze. That strand of silver peeks out at me, glinting with familiarity and comfort. Tears well at the mere sight of him. The man whips round, eyes widening. Shit. I'm not exactly sure how it happened, seeing that I chose quite the inopportune moment to blink. But the man's face is suddenly shoved against the grimy wall beside me while the length of Mac's arm presses against the back of his neck. You are a pathetically slow learner, Mac says dryly. I figured one black eye would be enough to get my point across, but it seems you'd like a matching one. I didn't recognize her, I swear. The man's voice is muffled against the brick. Mac leans in, his voice a murmur. We both know why that's a lie. And then he's grabbing the man by the collar to roughly turn him round, shoving his back against the wall. He sputters, forcing Mac to speak over him. Dina, I think you should do the honors. What? I croak from where I'm gawking beside him. It will be good practice. He says this simply, as though I have any idea of what he's suggesting. I would have let you punch me if it came to it, but this is a far more appealing option. You want me to punch him? I shake my head in protest. No, you go ahead, I'm good. Dina, really, I'll leave this one up to you. I assure with an unconvincing smile. This is more your thing. With a sigh, he reaches out a hand to close round my arm, dragging me towards him against my will. Come on, this is part of your training. He squares my shoulders, positioning me for a punch. Mac, think of what him and his friends tried to do. His voice is a murmur. Think of what he will continue to try with other women in the slums. I take a steadying breath, letting his words sink in. But it's what he says next that has my fist flying towards the man's face. Think of what he would try to do to pay. The man sputters, spitting blood from his mouth. Pain shoots down my arm, feeling as though my knuckles have been dipped in fire. My shout is strained. Plagues! He raises his eyebrows at my exclamation. Come on, tell me how you really feel. Hugging my hand, I glance around before quietly proclaiming what I'd bitten back. Shit! That hurt like hell! I smile timidly despite the pain, feeling proud of my profanity. And when Mac musters the slightest smile, I know he feels the same. Good form, hun. Maybe you have learned something. Then he turns to the cowering figure pinned against the wall. Don't let me ever see you again. He's gone in an instant, sprinting down the street and shoving bodies aside. Shaking out my aching hand, I watch Mac track the man's movements until he's disappeared into the crowd. Thank you, I whisper before letting my head fall limply against his chest. His arms hesitate before encircling me, and I don't waste a second before doing the same. When I finally release him from my crushing hug, I clear my throat, earning his attention for my quiet question. What did you do that night you went looking for those men? He brushes stray strands of hair from his face. I found them. I lean in. And after that? He looks at me blankly. I thought I ensured that they would never come within your vicinity again. Clearly, I failed. I blink about a dozen times before finally finding my voice. Why did you think he was lying about not recognizing me? I mean, it was dark that one night, and he was lying, Adina. His voice cuts through my own. Just believe that. I open my mouth to spew several more questions when he suddenly steps away. How about a sticky bun to celebrate your first assault? I smack his arm lightly. And I don't plan on ever doing it again. My hand hurts, and I kind of need that to sew. After a quick moment of contemplation, I add, but I will never turn down a sticky bun. His lips twitch. Oh, I know. I watch him vanish onto the street before allowing myself to slump against the wall. My heart still pounds against my chest, and I squeeze my eyes shut as if that will slow it. A firm tap on my shoulder interrupts my deep breathing. It's an imperial my eyes open to, smelling of starch and frowning with indifference. I startle at the sight and stagger backwards into the wall. The man looks unfazed by this, only opening his mouth to recite the words he's been given. I am here to escort you to the castle. The stolen sticky bun flashes before my eyes, and right when I'm sure that I'll be imprisoned for my crime, he says, "You have been summoned as a seamstress on behalf of a purging trials contestant. Pay," I whisper before he pushes on despite the drop of my jaw. "Yes, for paid in gray." He looks very displeased that this is how he is spending his morning. "She is waiting for you in the coach." Chapter 9. Adina. He looks to be guarding the sticky bun with his life. I weave between bodies, forcing my way towards him. He's wrapped his arms around my treat, protecting the precious cargo from several flying elbows. "Mac!" My shout is swallowed up in the commotion, but I force my voice louder. "Mac!" When his head whips in my direction, I wave my hands in the air, jumping high enough to catch his attention. At the sight of me, I swear he smiles. He jerks his head towards a nearby alley. A silent order to follow. I stumble behind him, pushing through the crowd until I'm able to suck in the open air of the alleyway. "What's going on?" He examines me closely. "Is everything okay?" My lips split into a smile, my voice a squeal. "Everything is more than okay. She's here. She's here and she's taking me with her." "Slow down." He steps towards me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Who's here?" "Pay!" Words tumble from my mouth. An Imperial told me that I'm being sent to the palace to become her seamstress for the trials balls. Isn't that amazing? I'll get to sew her dresses and... When? The flat tone of his voice makes me falter. Now, actually. But I told the Imperial that I had to say goodbye, so I've been trying to find you before I have to get back to him. But his voice is alarmingly lethal. We have our mission tonight. We have a plan for both of us to sneak into the castle. I shake my head, hoping a smile will lighten the mood. "Mac, your uniform is done. You are free to go to the castle whenever you... No, it will be much riskier without you. I need your power there with me," he mumbles, more to himself. I shift on my feet. "Look, I can see why you would be nervous to go alone. Why don't you just write Hera a note and I can make sure it gets to..." "You don't understand," he shouts, shoving a hand through his disheveled hair. "I need to be there. We were meant to go together so I could ensure you'd be in my range, but now I'll have no idea where you are." He trails off, murmuring more things I don't understand. "Mac." He shakes his head at the mention of his name. I don't understand. What are you talking about?" I reach out a hand, hoping to run it comfortingly down his arm, but he steps back, shoving space between us. "I need to get her out of there, out of this kingdom. And if you're too deep within the castle, I won't be able to wield your power," he rambles. "Or worse, I'll run into the prince who will sense exactly what I am." "Wield my power?" I echo quietly. "Yes, Adina, wield your power," he breathes. "Because that is what I do, what I am." He steps towards me, forcing me back until my shoulders hit the wall. And now it will be even harder to save her. My mind reels, running over every bit of information given to us about the elites. It's public knowledge that Kyazer is the only recorded wielder in all of Ilia. Some believe it is because no one has ever possessed such power. while others speculate that the king has ensured his son is the most powerful elite in the kingdom by killing off any other threat. And I think I may be staring at one. May have been staring at one for weeks. Confusion clogs my throat, forcing me to swallow. You're not a phaser? He laughs, the sound strained and bitter. No, honey, I'm not. And Hera is going to die in these trials if I can't get her out. I shake my head, fighting the tears starting to sting my eyes. Get her out? You mean run away with her? He opens his mouth, but anger is already spitting out of mine. You were going to leave me. You were going to get Hera and flee the kingdom. I suck in a quivering breath. You were going to die when they caught you. I was bound to die anyway, he breathes. It was only a matter of time before someone found out what I am. And there can only be one wielder in the kingdom. My vision clouds with unshed tears. You lied to me. You used me. He shakes his head, urging me to understand. Hera is all I have left. You had me. I choke. You had me, and I would have kept your secret. You have no idea what I'm willing to do for the people I care about. But you lied. I stumble towards the street, wiping furiously at my damp cheeks. At least I had the decency to say goodbye. I shake out of Mac's grasp, hearing the faint shout of my name as I disappear into the current of people.